What's up, everybody? It's Snitch here, and it's a blessed day because finally I'm able to bring you a patch review for 0.40. Finally, we're here and we have the patch, so let's just get straight into it and take a look. Super excited for this one. It's got a lot of the minion changes, gameplay minion overhaul, hero balancing, and more. Feels like it's it's a beefer, you know. We got some real stuff to go through here. Lots of big changes to the game from what I can see that are very interesting. It will overhaul the way it's played and its like phases. So we'll start with gameplay. Your hero experience, altering the proportion of experience required to get level 2 compared to subsequent levels allows healthier experience gain overall when it comes to gaining experience via laning, jungling, and hero kills. All three areas of experience gain an balance and altered more freely and accurate in this new leveling system. So just making some overall changes. Now takes 280 experience to get to level 2 instead of 90. It's accuracy by 100 for each subsequent level instead of 50. So yeah, basically they're just, with this change, they're like scaling experience. This allows them to make more specific changes without going to decimals, basically, from what I can tell. They don't want camps to be, giving like 10.5 experience, right? So they're increasing the overall amount of experience so they can scale everything easier. This is probably really good for things like jungle. Obviously jungle, this patch has been pretty oppressive because they get level 3 in 2 camps. One buff, one white camp was level 3, and then they would be mid. They could be in any lane, and the laners would be level 1 and they'd be level 3. And it was super strong and very, very hard to play around without playing just really defensive the first couple waves. So it felt really bad. So I'm glad to see that they're already kind of tackling that. Kill gold SP bounties. I thought this was already in the game actually, but if it wasn't, and I guess they're either they're clarifying it or they're adding it, but I think it's a good idea. Hero takedowns are giving unhealthy amounts of golden experience because of the kill streak or death streak. For instance, group kills are granting twice the amount of hero experience overall than they should have been, and getting a kill on a much higher level opponent is granting almost half the experience that it should have been. This is really interesting actually. Okay, so it's good to see like behind the thought process behind what they're doing. Heroes on a higher kill streak are worth more and more gold. I wonder if this is shown on the scoreboard. I doubt it, but that's really to see when it actually happens. Oh, and death streaks. Death streaks are super nice. We've all had that 1 in 15 player who just keeps getting picked. Even at some point, it's not even their fault anymore. They're just so weak that anywhere they go on the map, they just die. So it's nice to see that, yeah, the death streak will prevent people from like farming that individual and just getting more and more ahead. You still get a reward, but it's not as drastic as it is, or it has been. So that's nice to see. Assist gold is always 150, except for just streak kills, which are half of the death streak goals. Kill bounty, I guess that's fine, Assist bounty is split equally between all sisters. It actually makes kills worth a lot more. I don't know what it was before, but seeing the actual raw number makes assists feel quite weak, actually. So maybe like actually making sure people that need the kills get them actually seems quite important here. I don't know for sure though, but that reads like a really low number to me. Group kills grant hero experience that is based on the victim's hero level and is split equally among all members participating in the kill. Solo kills receive all this experience themselves, so the literal percentage amount on top of that. This percentage amount changes to levels 1 through 8. I wish they'd just show the percentage of this one. A kill gains 15% more experience for each level they are below their victim. Yeah, I guess that's what this is. And receives 15% less for each level they are above. There's a cap of 60% for the decrease and no cap for the increases. Previously only 7% had no cap. So actually these kind of changes scare me a bit because it's kind of that situation where you're really ahead of the game, and then if you die now, it's even more punishing. You're giving a big bounty, you're giving a lot of experience to everybody. So these changes definitely, I guess, increase the skill cap or ceiling on the floor, I guess, of just like 1v9ing a game, because if you make a mistake, it's a lot worse now, which I guess is fine because the same thing happened on the other side, right? You could be losing a game and you kill the most important player and get a really big reward from it. That's how it should feel, I think, if they make a mistake. But this could feel a little bit too much. I mean, we'll have to play and see how it feels, but overall, it's definitely a little more rough on fed players having to like perform, because yeah, if you screw up and start feeding, you'll be giving them a lot of experience, you'll be giving them more gold than usual. Like, you definitely can, it makes comebacks a lot more plausible, I guess, as well. If you're behind a bit in the other game, you can get that big bounty now, you get the experience bonus. I think decreasing the amount of experience you get from kills when you're ahead of them is really nice, especially when they're reworking experience. And I guess the minions, I think they probably have tightened it, because like getting level 18 before was very, very hard. So these changes read to me like they're making the leveling experience make a little bit more sense. I think that's what this is all aimed at, kind of. So I guess it's hard to get a feel for exactly how it'll impact the game without kind of knowing how the new leveling feels, because obviously they're redoing a lot of it. Basic attack projectile speed increased by 20%. Plus into basic attacks lacking not to stand, increasing the speed of projectiles, however, making basic attacks more reliable and intuitive. This is a great change to me, honestly. I think basic attacks right now are really, really funky. It's really annoying when you have that kind of position where you have to like lead a bunch and like you have like a Countess, something who's just running around, or everybody's like Gwazding in fights, and especially for ADC, I have this feeling of like sometimes you could just lose a fight with a huge stat lead because obviously you're meant to lead to projectiles and it's a skill thing and it's aim, but it's like it just feels a bit silly that you can be so far ahead of someone and then you just happen to miss like 3-4 autos because you don't lead properly, or they Wazd a bit weird, and then you end up losing a fight that you probably shouldn't with your items. This will probably tie that up a bit, just make everybody a bit more consistent when it comes to basic attacks, which I think is nice in general. I think they were a little bit slow, so I think this will feel good. It might mean people die a bit more often, honestly, because it's just harder to dodge. You know, it's harder to get away when the projectiles are faster. But maybe that's okay. You know, maybe there should be a bit more consistency in death. You shouldn't just be able to like run away from every scenario and outplay it. I don't know if this is necessarily a good or bad thing. I think it sounds like a good thing overall, and it would just it will kind of increase the punishing aspect of the game because it'll be a lot harder to dodge a projectile now, a basic attack projectile. Heroes. Hero camera FOV decreased slightly and camera position tweaked. Hero acceleration increased slightly. Hero movement animation speed increased. More tweaks to the camera system, player movement, and movement animations are ordered. This should make it feel like the player movement is not slow and cumbersome. Sure, it's hard to tell what these will do with just reading the text, but you know, I'm sure we get a feel for it in game. Hero base movement speed has been tweaked according to a class each hero is in. Base movement speed of classes are low to high as follows. I would like to see raw numbers here, just to see them, you know. So range carriers and burst casters slowest, range casters, range supports, tanks and melee supports, bruisers, melee assassins, and fighters. So basically Quang is a zoom-in, unless he's a bruiser, but I think he's a melee fighter. I don't know what this means. I guess it means that they've redone the movement speed hierarchy, but it's hard to get a feel for what that means without seeing actual numbers, I think. I don't really know what to expect. Like, this could be like 2 points between each class, you know, or it could be 5, or it could be 10. And those are pretty different numbers, so without seeing actual core numbers, it's hard to get a feel for how strong that'll be. I guess it's nice for the changing movement speeds. I did feel like everybody ran about the same, or it was kind of confusing what speed people ran at. It felt a little bit random. Stat normalization in general is pretty nice, I think, because a lot of the stats do feel a bit random right now with regards to growths and base stats. It feels like a lot of the classes have very similar things, or like some things like, you know, Countess has more health and steel, for example. I think a lot of the stats are a bit weird right now, so it's nice to see like passes on just normalizing like the way the stats are between the classes and stuff. It's just generally good, I think. Lane minions. Alright, here we go. Lane minions are not in a good spot for a number of reasons. Minions felt that they individually had too much health and were not sensible and intuitive to last hit, so increasing the number of minions per wave spreads out the total health of the wave across more minions. Killing a single minion in a 4 minion per wave system meant that a more significant portion of the wave's damage output was eliminated for every minion that was killed, when compared to a 6 minion per wave system, meaning it was difficult to execute finely tuned wave management for the ideal freeze or slow push. This also meant the crashing waves into towers would be more impactful. Or means. It's a greater push can be created, therefore rewarding skillful wave manipulation. Additionally, the time to level 18 is proving to be too long, leading to even long matches not seeing the peak of most heroes' capabilities. Increasing laning experience overall will help lower the time required to hit level 18. Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. Seems like they're making some changes to the laning cycle or leveling cycle, so yeah, I guess we're on the money with that one. The amount of melee and range minions spawned from the melee match increased to 2 to range, 2 melee, to 3 melee, and 3 range. Alright, so I guess we're at a 6 minion wave now. I think this is fine. Probably a good change. It's easy to balance, I think, honestly. The points they make in the paragraph here are very, very good. We're moving to a League of Legends system, I guess. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Definitely, you know, they hit all the things on the head, I think. You know, it makes wave manipulation a lot easier. It makes last hitting easier earlier game because the minions are weaker. I'm assuming they rescaled. Yeah, here we go. Minion and range, melee, health, damage. Hero experience and gold bounty supported redistributed appropriately across the new minions. So yeah, basically everything will be a bit squishier early game, which means it's easier to last hit, which is nice, I guess. And max health deals true damage from structures against minions will be increased from 30 to 45% melee minions, 45% to 70% for range minions. Okay, so it's literally League of Legends rules. This is literally League of Legends. Exactly how it works. I think that's fine, you know. I think, yeah, it does make more sense. Easier to balance, easier to look at something and see how it works, for sure. I don't think there's any issue with changing it to the system. I do think that, the old minions were very confusing as well, just the way they came out, when the waves got bigger, why they got bigger. Like, none of it really made too much sense, so I think it's completely fine that they've made these changes. I think this would be an easier system to balance and work around. I do think having, the bigger minion wave, I think they're right. It would let the lanes be managed easier. People could use the knowledge from League, for example, and just kind of apply it to this game. It'd be a very similar rule. So that'd be kind of cool. Definitely will change lane phase. I'm assuming they've fixed a lot of the bugs as well, but it's just by here that minion aggro and stuff has been fixed. Maybe it's later in the patch, but this definitely makes laning more interesting, especially in solo lane, I think, because it's just more creeps, so you have to be more worried about more damage. They do specify that they do more damage to towers, right, if you keep the wave because it's bigger, but that's technically true of just general laning as well. You know, if you're stood in a minion wave now, you're getting hit by more damage for more of the time. It takes longer to clear the whole wave, I guess, at least in the early game. I'm interested to see what this would do for wave clear as well, because like if the minions are weaker, you should actually be able to clear casters faster, and mages already clear casters kind of fast, but it sounds like everybody at mana lens now will be able to one-shot backline, which is a pretty big buff to mid actually, but I guess we'll see how it goes. But overall, I think this is a really good change. I like the thought process they have, so we'll have to see how it plays out, but to me, it all looks pretty good. Lane minions now gain increasing movement speed every 90 seconds, maxing out 25 minute mark. I think this is in League as well, actually. Yeah, it's always a good thing. It just makes waves be more relevant throughout the whole game. It forces people to pay attention to side lanes. It gives rewards to side lanes if you actually stack them and stuff. So this is just generally a good idea. I think comes along a little early, but I guess it's not too fast. Again, see, this is 725 movement speed, but I don't really know what that means because I don't know how fast the heroes are now, you know. But I'm assuming it's a little bit faster. I think you get to about 400 to 500 on most heroes with level 2 boots, so they are kind of zooming. But I think it's nice. Yeah, it makes sideways way more relevant, and it also probably means you can have a big impact in the game with side wave manipulation.
manipulation. So it's kind of, again, rewarding that kind of player knowledge and setting up ways and stuff like that. You know, you want to see in the game, you want to see the ceiling increase. It's nice that they're kind of giving benefits to that kind of playstyle. Super minions are a key element behind lane game pressure, meant to ensure lane priority and keep players in lane to deal with the lane pressure. Currently, super minions are not strong enough to fill this role and be destroyed too easily, since the large majority of minion waves' damage sustainability actually comes from the melee range of siege minions. Granting additional armor to the other minions enables the wave to sustain through damage better and output more effective damage. Additionally, super minions need the ability to sustain through efficient forms of wave clear in order to require either high value damage dealers to deal with them or large amounts of time to kill. So super minions now do 2 unique abilities. Reinforced armor, unique passive, they take 70% reduced damage from area effect abilities. That's really big, actually. And they grant 35 physical and energy armor to nearby allied minions, excluding owner of the super minions counter stack. Oh, yeah, that's a really nice change, actually. Makes supers way more relevant. This change in particular is really, really big. Pretty much means you could probably have to be sending your ADC to clear super waves most of the time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, a mage can do it. It's going to take longer, right? But this is a good change, I think, overall. Makes supers a lot more present. I think buffing the minions is a good idea. It means that it's a way to buff the wave without kind of affecting the wave. Like, it makes supers a lot more powerful. Super minions spawn, they will now replace the siege minion in that wave instead of a melee minion. I guess they're just, yeah, they are the siege minion, right? So I guess that's okay. Super minions now spawn at the front of the wave instead of at the rear. Super minions, siege minions now do 85% and 25% less damage respectively to towers. So really cracking down on that buffing the wave thing. I think that's fine. I mean, I think if they fix minion aggro, towers will be dropping a lot faster anyway, so you know, it's hard to get a feel for what if this change is a bad thing, but I think it should be okay. We'll just see how it plays, I guess. 2 super minions will now spawn in each wave if all inhibitors are destroyed. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, sure. I guess I guess there wasn't a reward before, but that's nice to see. Jungle minions. Fixed jungle minions will be spawning to be 122 instead of 100. To me, this just says people should take more camps. Like, honestly, now this is kind of a buff to like mid, solo, ADC taking camps when the jungle's on the other side of the map. So what this does is it basically adds more gold to the game in a way, because now instead of every 2 minutes the camp spawns, it's every 1 minute 40. So if you're technically not taking all 5 of your camps every 140, you're missing gold and XP, right? And the gold and XP could be more relevant now because of the XP curve. But basically, this just means that you want to be able to like acknowledge what your jungler is and take their camps when they're not there. I guess it's a bit less punishing for junglers if they're idiots taking their camps, so they get them a little bit more often. I don't know, I think it's generally kind of nice. It's a little bit more gold / experience for jungle in general. To me, I think junglers are already struggling to get all their camps every 2 minutes, unless they were just like hard farming, because they, you know, it's pretty easy to gank and they gank pretty often. So I think there's more being aimed honestly at like ADC mid solo taking camps so the jungler's on the other side and the jungler doesn't lose anything for it, and it's just like injecting more gold into those lanes, to be honest. But I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't know if this needed to happen, but I guess it's an interesting change, and it'll probably feel a bit better for jungle for sure. Raptors. The 3 Raptor system was leading to unhealthy gameplay for many reasons. Their gold and experience values are very high, leading to large amounts of gold funneling and experience leads. 4 teams could effectively secure the objective. Favor they were granted was also only going to the killing player, meaning the following could occur on more influential players and leaving the rest of the team from gaining more influence, therefore limiting their impact over the course of the match. Also, having 3 individual units meant that the more portions of the objective's damage and time investment was eliminated at discrete moments in time, rather required players to fully invest in a set amount of risk for a set amount of time in order to reap the rewards. Raptors are now been turned into the Raptor objective, featuring 1 large Raptor that grants every member of the killing team 2 favor, along with limiting gold and experience. Due to doing this shifts the objective away from influencing gold and experience gain, instead offers a more separate form of influence for teams to fight over and secure favor. Now, each player of the killing team is rewarded for taking the objective, turning into a more team-focused objective that enables all players to gain more influence and have increasing potential to affect the course of the match. This is such a good change, honestly. I think one of the biggest issues I have with the favor system right now is that it was just linked to doing things that you did anyway, you know? Like, it was very hard for supports, I think, to get favor especially, because it was very hard for supports specifically to get favor, because it was just like when you farm minions, when you get kills and assists, you know, it was really awkward. I think it's nice that they're fine-tuning objectives to be rewarding specifically favor, and that's where you get it from, because I think favor's a cool mechanic, but currently it was really just, it was just really win more, you know, like you just got more stats for doing things you were doing anyway. You got more stats for farming. You got more stats for killing the enemy. Like, it didn't really feel like it was a separate currency. It just felt more like a win more currency to me. So I think it's nice that they're fine tuning it to be a big reward from this one specific thing to focus. So it does feel like, you know, everybody can get it and everybody can obtain it, but it's like an alternate way to get it, right? So it doesn't just feel like, you know, I'm farming so I get favor. Now it's like, here we go, the Raptor gives 2 favor to all living or dead members of the team that kills the Raptor. That's going to feel really good for support for sure. It's a much nicer reward overall. Doesn't give any gold now, gives a little bit of experience. Health and damage are adjusted to compensate a slow base attack. Yeah, I think this is just a good change overall. Old Raptors were really, really snowballing, like they said. And this feels really good, I think, honestly, that it's like, they can fine tune this more, but I think it's nice that it's, yeah, a nice alternate way for everybody to get favor. So it makes everybody stronger, but it's not super snowbally like gold. And I also like like I said, they're dictating a more specific way to get favor. that isn't just playing the game normally. It's actually like getting this objective will give you a favor boost, but it's not gonna like win you the game if this happens, but you'll definitely feel stronger. So I think this is a really good change for Raptors overall, because it was definitely way too much before. You know, if a team got 3 or 4 Raptors in a row, there's pretty much just nothing you could do. They already carry you so far ahead. So I think this feels really good in general, and I think it's a really nice change. And yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I'd like to see how it plays out. I'm sure they can make more changes to, you know, the Raptor or whatever if it's still a problem, but I think this is definitely a good direction for Raptors to go. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Prime Helix. Large impactful objective needs the capability to reward the killing team with the means effectively working towards ending the game. Or Prime buff will be receiving more means of filling the goal in the future, but the Prime Helix objective itself also requires the means to reward players for securing it, making Prime Helix grant both local and global experience, local and global gold, help players gain edge or opponents in the late game to help close out a match. Really nice for sure. 800 global experience is granted to each of the killing team's members, an additional 600 local experience shared amongst members of the killing team that nearby. This is a really, really big buff. This is a lot of EXP. This is easily like, I mean, you know, if you look at this, it's like 280 plus 100 per level, right? For most people, they'll level up killing Prime. And then, especially with the additional 600, if you don't level up, you'll get most of your level, right? You'll be really close to the next level. So this is really, really good. I think it's like an even bigger reward for killing Prime, because it definitely felt a little bit, I think part of the problem was minions for sure, but it definitely felt a bit underwhelming taking Prime. But maybe with the new minions, it'll feel a lot better. But this is really good. You get a big reward for doing it, because this is going to make it feel a lot better. 300 gold as well. It's just a nice, like, this isn't as big, I think. It's a nice reward. 1500 gold for a team is always super nice, of course. But I think the experience will feel really good. I think it's just a nice change to snowball in the game. Hopefully it pushes people to do it a little bit sooner and think about it more actively. Because for sure, it's I think it's a little bit ignored right now, partly because you just can't see how effective it is at pushing and stuff. It's a little bit of a hidden buff, but overall, I think this is a really good change. Optimization, lighting. Not to move back to a dynamic lighting pass, reduce hitching while entering busy areas of the jungle, should fix problems like FPS stuttering caused by the environment. Starting more detailed lighting pass will be introduced again as we fix the loading problems caused by it. Cool, they found an issue, they removed it already, that's cool. They decided what they put in isn't working, right? So they're fixing it again, but I'm glad they took it out in the meantime and didn't just leave us with the a problematic map or whatever. Volumetrics, start experimenting with rendering volumetric effects such as clouds and fog. These are just tests for now. We keep introducing new rendering effects as we go. Frame rate. We're testing frame rate smoothing to fix FPS stuttering and blocked the FPS to a maximum of 100 to a further notice. We will unlock it again as soon as we can guarantee a higher, so smoother frame rate at higher numbers. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. You know, as long as I keep stable 100, I have no issue. Bug fixes. Ping, good game. Now properly pings good games to ultimate ready. Thank God. Dude, I was always telling my team I almost was ready when I was trying to tell them it was a good game. So glad to see that one's out of the way. Fix issue with keybinds not working your mouse thumb buttons. It's nice. I can finally auto run my mouse. The dream. Fix issue with screen resolutions, making it so you could not access the settings. Fix issues with Gideon and Bellica deployables randomly disappearing. This is really good. Bellica's bomb and drone were disappearing all the time, so glad to see that, you know, that'll be fixed. Fix issue with abilities showing ready when not having enough mana to cast them. Thank you. That was really annoying as well. Fix an issue with blue buff not taking damage from auto attacks. I think I've seen that one. Fix an issue with radiant pulse. No one knows what it was, but it had an issue. Fix minion aggro when attacking an enemy in lane. Here we go. This will be really big in every single lane. This is super, super massive. Laning is going to change entirely this patch, so that's really exciting. Fix being able to place more than one shadow ward at a time and clear the way they appear on the minimap. So maybe you can't, yeah, so from what I understood, Dusty actually told me this, is that you can only place one shadow ward. If you try and push the second one down, the first one will disappear. So maybe they're prohibiting you from putting a second one down, because that was kind of counterintuitive. I don't think it says it anywhere. So nice to see that they've made this a bit more clear, I guess. I would assume it means that you just literally can't put down a second ward, and hopefully that will clue in players that the second one wouldn't work until the first one has died, because I don't think it actually says it anywhere. So it's just, yeah, I think this is a good change. Fix Raptor area so you can get on top of the walls. That's nice. You know, Gideon was hard abusing. Not that I would do it, but you know, there's other dirty Gideon players. They were doing it. You know they were. You know who you are. Ledges on Dual Link can no longer be walked on. I've never actually seen this. The only time I've seen people go on this ledge when they get Sev ulted there, but you know, it's still a good change, I guess, because it was pretty weird. Muriel, back animation now works correctly. I don't know, the breaking spine looks fine to me. No issues here. Oh, they finally fixed Consecrated Ground. This is a really, really big buff, actually. I think Muriel will easily be one of the best heroes in the game with this patch, honestly, just because they fixed this. I think she was already very, very strong. Even in mid lane, I think I've been testing her a bit. I think she's performing very well, but as a support in the late game, I think she's super, super, super strong, and that's only been with one shield. Having the double shield is actually going to feel really, really, really crazy. I think she's in a really, really good spot right now. Like, as mid-Muriel right now, I'm pumping out like 700 shields in the late game with my full build, like 600 to 700, I think. And that's literally only been the first shield. So now it will literally be a 1200 to 1400 shield every like 6 seconds. It's going to be really, really, really strong. I think Muriel's going to be really insane in this patch now. They finally fixed her E. I think the buffs in the past are actually gonna look pretty scary now that she's working correctly. Item substitution, active range increased from 700 to 1500. Sure, haven't seen any subs yet, honestly, since the dark days. So it'd be nice to see the item getting a little plays and get a feel for it. I think it could have been a good answer to Countess, but I'm assuming she has some nerfs in this patch. I'm not sure it'll still be necessary. Titan Fist, active abilities, damage type change from energy damage to physical damage. Definitely a big nerf to Titan Fist, honestly. Armor is way more. It's the same kind of nerf they did to Plasma Blade, but armor is just way more accessible, especially in the solo lane. And these are kind of the characters that are always building. Like the only one who really builds this is Sev, right? But realistically, you know, he's hitting frontline quite a lot, and this is definitely a nerf to his damage if he does go T-Fist on things like other solo laners or junglers. He's just gonna be hitting for less on them because it's much easier to stack armor and build armor items than it is to build magic resist in general. So it's kind of and people have much higher base armor, so it's just kind of like a nerf to the ability damage types in general. I hope it doesn't feel as bad as Plasma kind of feels now. I think Plasma feels really bad in solo lane because of just how resilient people are to physical damage. So hopefully it's not as bad, but you never know. Magician, very powerful aspect through the entire map, especially the learning phase. Proper early game still coming in the future. The management has been increased in order to require more meaningful decisions to be made, especially with trading lane in the early game. Too much freedom is currently being given to players free to use abilities with minor consequences, requiring players to make more intentional use of abilities will reward better decision making, higher skill execution. Sure, completely agree. 0.5 to 0.25. I think it's completely fine enough. I think you'll still take it. Just because like I mentioned, the early game sustain items don't exist. I don't think you can build stone and be fine. It's just not. Maybe you can actually. I don't know. But yeah, it's nice to see people getting punished, I guess, or just spamming abilities in the early game. Definitely something that happens right now. Definitely feels you have a lot of mana early, especially when everybody's starting crystal. So all of those is pretty good change. Energy power gold value amount items and energy power scaling will go through many changes over the past months. Energy power gold value is lowered, meaning more energy power can place on items with the same amount of gold, resulting in the ability to scale up energy power dealing more damage due to an effort on our part to test and see how these changes will affect gameplay. Slow changes to ability scalings have been done in past patches and continue to occur to this day. Changes here should be the last of the changes in regard to adapting to new systems. It should hopefully mean a more precise balance patches can be formed in the future. Countess, here we go. Ability to counteract Countess is extremely difficult. She's using a shadow slip ability and was preventing skill expression when one was in combat against her. Enabling a small recast delay in her shadow slip should allow skill expression to exist for responsive players to fight against Countess, while also increasing the risk for Countess players and decreasing the thought process required when engaging enemy targets. Yeah, shadow slip scaling down now has a recast delay. Dark Tide energy scaling down has recovery delay, and feast scaling way down. So yeah, it's a big hit on Countess's nerf for sure, or damage for sure. At least her scaling damage. Looks like her bases are still fine, so her lane phase shouldn't honestly be that drastically worse, although the recast delay, yeah, I like this change a lot because it will let them balance her in more in ways that make more sense. Because currently, like, she had this, like, trading pattern where she would Q, RBE, and you couldn't do anything. Like, no one could hit anything on her in this trading pattern. Realistically, you either had, let's say you're Gideon, right, in this matchup, you either have to, like, Q on you, in which case she could Q back, or you have to Q where she came from and hope that she Qs back into it, but it's all on the Countess player to make a mistake, pretty much. She pretty much had all the control of these trades. Now you know she has a recast delay, right? So if Countess Qs on you and you're Gideon, you put the Q on you, and she's not gonna be able to dodge it. So I think that's really nice. It's also a bit of a nerf in the Bellica matchup, because you could, like, Q back really fast to get, like, a fast trade to force her to blow her stun, which will give you lane control. Overall, I think it's just the best way they can do it. It might make Countess too weak right now, but I'd rather, you know, she doesn't kind of have this, like, free trade playstyle, and they can give her more strength, like, in her passive or something like this, if they want to make her a bit more of a bruisery assassin. You know, there's definitely ways they could take her after lowering the damage, and, like, you know, I assume this is, like, when she E's, she has less time, she could do stuff, maybe, I don't know, like, straight away. But yeah, basically just lowering her damage output and giving her a bit more, like, counterplay will let her buffer in other ways if they need to, and it will just let her be a bit more of a healthy character, I think, because I think currently she had very, very low counterplay. She was getting off the ground very, very easily, but this would definitely harm her lane phase, which I think is what I wanted to see get hit. And also they lowered her scalings as well, which I think is fine as well, honestly. I think she was scaling really, really high. She has a whole bunch of ratios. So I think it's nice to see the two changes that I was looking forward to the most. And yeah, I think it'll give her a lot more counterplay. It will increase her skill ceiling a bit, and it might make her a bit weak right now, but I think this is better and healthier, and they can buff her in other ways that will make her more healthier for the future of the game. Gideon, ding dong, the king is dead. Cosmic Rift base damage reduced. So 5 base damage of his rocks. That's fine, I guess. Energy scaling reduced. Yep, definitely needed it. R&B base damage. Okay, so R&B scaling definitely lowered. I mean, most of the time I'm maxing R&B second right now. Energy scaling down as well. So this will feel a little bit worse, I guess. I mean, it's not a huge base damage hit, but it'll probably be noticeable. The scalings are all really hurt, I think, to be honest. Black hole damage per tick actually increased. Oh, quite a large amount, actually. This is quite a lot because it's like 20, but it's 20 times 7, I think. So it's like 140 base damage. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I think it's 0.5 over 3.5. So it's actually quite a large base damage increase. They even increased the scaling on his ult. I already felt his ult was scaling really, really high. In fact, it goes up 50 at rank 3. I actually think black holes are really, really significant now. It's going to feel like it does a lot of damage. I'm a little bit worried about this because I already feel like the ability is actually very, very good. The shield is very, very, very strong. You have to be quite patient with it, and sometimes it's more utility heavy, but that's mostly because it wasn't doing any damage. Now it's doing a lot of damage. It could be a really, really scary teamfight ult. But I think that's okay, because I think it's kind of what it looks like. It just wasn't doing this massive damage that it felt like it necessarily should be. But, you know, overall, I think it's an interesting change. We'll see how it feels. I think these are all completely deserved. I think he was doing way too much damage. So his combo damage would be down. Mainly his scaling is where they hit, and I think that's good. Yeah, I think he just needed to lose like 100, 150 off his late game damage hits. Like each of his spells. Maybe like 50 to 100. And I think it would feel pretty fine now. It should take him a little bit more of a commitment to kill an AD carry. Maybe. I guess not in Giga late game. He'll still just one shot with QRBQ, but I don't know. It is what it is. I think overall these are good changes. I'm sure they can keep going back for more if they feel like he's too strong. Narbash Thunk cooldown increased. Only at rank 5. I guess it'll feel good in late game. I guess he was throwing out thunks like mad. I guess it was going down to what, 5-ish, but now we're down to 6 at max CDR. I think it's fine. You know, I don't know if his late game thunking is really anything I was too concerned about. I don't even feel like Narbash has been overly strong anymore. I think he feels pretty okay. Thunk is definitely really strong, so I guess that's just why they're hitting it. I suppose his win rate is still really high, so maybe that's why they're hitting him a bit. It's not too big of a change, I think. It's just like, you know, 1 second off Thunk in late game, but it's what it is. Steel Shield Bash base damage increased at later ranks, so I guess it's kind of a buff to like jungle / solo lane Steel, because he'll be hitting these faster. That's a small buff to support Steel, I suppose, but he's not really getting the max ranks on right mouse button that quickly, especially with how hard he should get punished in the early games. So overall, not too significant for support, I'd say. Base damage increased from 120, 170, and 220 to 150, 225, 300 on his ult. Again, kind of feels like a buff to offlane Steel, because he's more realistically getting to 11 and 16 in windows that matter. Stun duration reduced from 1.5 to 0.8. Ooh, 0.1.3, 1.8. Okay, so big nerf to Steel's CC combo. I think that feels really nice, especially against jungle or offlane Steel. If they just wander into even support Steel, sometimes if they wander into like mid or something, they have so much presence because they just CC combo you for like 4 seconds. It felt really bad. So it's a big hit. It's 0.7 off its ult. So definitely lower the CC combo and make it feel a bit more fair to play around, I suppose. Twin Blast Grenade. Internal cooldown should have 0.625 second delay between each charge. Gameplay minion overhaul. Okay, we ignore that part. Alright, so they added the internal cooldown between Twin Blast's grenades. I think it's fine. He was able to do this thing where he just like instantly triple grenade in, and it felt really oppressive because he was just like blasting people really fast. So I think this is good. Just tone down Twin Blast a bit. He is definitely the best AD carry right now, and AD carries probably feel better with the projectile changes this patch. But yeah, that was patch 0.40. I think definitely a good patch. Lots of big gameplay overhauls. It's hard to get a feel for exactly how they all affect the game when they're all coming at the same time, but I'm definitely very excited for this patch and how it will change the game. I think it'll make a lot of things much better, especially when it comes to things like lane manipulation, Raptors, laning in general, and jungle experience speed, I suppose, like how fast they level up. So overall, pretty happy with the patch. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching this video, and yeah, I'll see you guys hopefully soon with the next patch review. Make sure to check out my stream. I'm live every day. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.